Again, thank you, Stan. And folks, I'm so happy to be here with you. And even though the weather's not to our liking, but it's better than snow in Minnesota, where I came from.
Yes.
Now, this is going to be a very unusual program. I'm looking for Steve Stevens. I don't know if you see him around. He will come forward, I know, and I'm going to turn the program over to him very shortly. Steve, will you step forward? Thank you, sir. Now then, we're going to talk very, very briefly a little bit about Guadalcanal, and then I'm going to end it. The purpose of Guadalcanal was to help end the war, of course. And before that, the Battle of Midway took place, and the Japanese lost 4 aircraft carriers. Had that not happened, our activities in Guadalcanal certainly would not have been as successful as they were. In the material that you're going to read about it. The plaque on the wall here, the black one, is a copy of it for you to keep on top of it. What was really, really important is that the Japanese could not take Guadalcanal, because the Marines were there and we were there helping them. On top of it, that saved Australia from invading. So it was a very, very important part of the war. Now then, before that, Pearl Harbor came along, of course, and that was it's history. And then actually, John Stevenson was there, and he's sitting right by my side here, and I was there waving a little bit also, because we were all kids about that time. And then at the end of the war, Okinawa, that's when the war came to a halt and Japanese surrendered. Bear in mind, 3 years, 8 months, 8 days after Pearl Harbor, Japanese gave unconditional surrender. How did that all happen in that short period of time? The big secret was the women in America went to work, and they went to work and built everything we needed to help win the war. That was a great event. So now I will turn the program over to my good friend, Steve Stevenson. Steve, would you step forward and push me away? Thank you, folks. That's good enough.
That's not an easy task.
No. There you go.
I'll ease into it.
As Chief Johnny said, I'm Steve Stevens. My real name is John Richard Stevens II. My son here in the front row is John Richard Stevens III, but there's really only one John Stevens, this gentleman right here. And I'm very, very fortunate son to have a father like Lieutenant Colonel John R. Stevens. And I wanted to share a few things with you about growing up as the son of a incredibly honest, integrity, ethics. He taught myself and my brother and sisters the values and how to take accountability and be responsible. Those of you here that know him know what I'm talking about. This is a guy that he's a true American hero, a national treasure, and he has had a life that is unbelievable, not just in the military, but as well as afterwards. In fact, my company that I founded is his idea that he had 40 years ago. So I'm just executing on an idea he had. I would have never had it. But I want to tell you that growing up with a Marine, that you've heard the saying, once a Marine, always a Marine. I do remember him asking me many years ago if I knew the first words I ever spoke, and I said, "Sir, yes, sir." and he said, "Well, what did you say?" That's what I said, "Sir, yes, sir." And of course, being the wonderful dad he was, he said, "Drop and give me 20." So, but he was a wonderful, wonderful father. Humility is something that I don't know. A lot of the younger generation that we deal with today, they don't understand how to be humble. And being part of the last great generation, humility is something that you have too much humility, because I had to go and Google his name to try to get his bio, because when I asked him, "Dad, can I have a bio?" he gives you the short version. You know, I was born in Butte, Montana, April 22nd, 1921. Is that correct? And I was a Marine, and I retired, and I had a private life, and I'm 94 years old now. And you know, there's a lot more to it than that, as you'll see in the bio that you have, and as well as the conversation we're going to have today. Also, as I was Googling for his bio, a YouTube video popped up, and it says Marine of the Year 2015, and it's him. Okay, and so I watched this video, and it's an incredible video with Colonel Alan Cruz here, is introducing my father at the Marine Memorials Club and talking about his amazing career. And I call up my dad, I say, Dad, have you seen this video? When did this happen? He goes, oh, that was in January. and I said, does Jody know? And he goes, no, she wasn't there. So and you weren't, were you? Okay, so not only that, I have, and I can see John Roberts back there, I haven't, and my employees will come in and they go, I saw your dad on TV last night. I said, what? Go, yeah, he was on Channel 7. And then another employee came in and said, I saw your dad on PBS. And I said, what was he doing? Well, they were giving him an interview. And then another one came in and said, I saw him on KRON Channel 4. Yeah. So I call up my dad, he goes, yeah, I had 4 TV interviews in one day. But he doesn't tell us these things. He doesn't tell us all the things that he's accomplished in his life. Like a lot of you great heroes and men that have served for our country, you don't sometimes talk about it. And he doesn't like people talking about him, and he doesn't like to talk about himself. But today, he's a captive audience. So what we're going to do is we're going to have my dad come up here, and I'm going to ask him some questions in specific about things that he did during the World War II and Korean War. But before I go there, I would like to just mention when I talk about a national treasure and a true American hero, his military awards that he told us about, that these are the only ones we know: 2 Bronze Stars with Combat Vs, a Combat Action Ribbon, Presidential Unit Citation with 2 stars, Good Conduct Medal, China Service Medal, American Defense Medal, Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal with 2 stars, American Campaign Medal, Victory Medal World War II, National Defense Service Medal, Korean Service Medal with 3 stars, the Korean Presidential Unit Citation, and Marine of the Year for the Marine Coordinating Council 2015, and Marine of the Year for the Marine League. And as I said, those are just a few of the things. Also, my mom...
Director of the foundation.
Well, I'm going to get to that. Okay. My dad's wife and my mom, Jody Stevens, is right here. I also want to acknowledge we have family members, Tom Lochran, Kate Bennett, my son Johnny, Miss Keiko, Allie, Jody's sister. My fiance's back there selling hats. And by the way, you need $10 for the hats. And my daughter Nancy's back there as well. So I also want to mention that Chief Johnny came to my dad about 15 years ago and said, I want to start the USS San Francisco Foundation. And so my dad helped him incorporate and has been there and on the board ever since, and has helped bring this wonderful event together, which is this is a wonderful thing every year. And $10 for the hats, please donate. But with that, I'd like to bring my dad up here, and we want to talk a little bit about your life. Big hand, guys. Is there anything you'd like to say first?
We've already talked too much about my life.
You ain't heard nothing yet.
Yes, so this gentleman was at Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. And what I'd like to ask you, Dad, I mean, I know that you were first sent to Pearl Harbor, and then you went over to Midway and Palmyra. Where did you go?
The USS Enterprise took the 1st Defense Battalion in February of 1941 to Pearl. We sent then detachments to Wake, to Palmyra, to Johnson. the idea was to provide a defensive ring around Pearl Harbor. During the summer of 1941, I was sent out to Midway as part of a relief group for other Marines there to come back to Pearl. I had an experience, of course, on December the 7th when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. It was a short time. It lasted for 2 hours, and it was over with. But it was a very costly 2 hours. I think most of you know that the Japanese destroyed the Pacific Fleet. Unfortunately for the Japanese, they neglected to destroy the oil tanks or the machine shops. And as a result, we were able to reconstitute the Pacific Fleet. They also missed the aircraft carriers who happened to be out at sea.